Chapter 24.
Draco had vaguely hoped there might be some easing of tensions with the Gryffindors after their ill-fated Polyjuice adventure, perhaps due to their shame. However, January came and went with them, still maintaining a wary distance, albeit a bit less so. They couldn't completely avoid him now, particularly since Hermione had morphed into a hospital-residing cat. The first time Draco discovered the fate of Millie's cat, he laughed until tears came. "It's not amusing," Hermione persistently said, trying to get through to him. "You were trying to turn into Mr. Wilberforth?" Draco managed between fits of laughter, clutching his ribs from the hilarity of it all. His obnoxious mirth was met with severe glares from her companions. "Millie believes I'm out to harm Mr. Wilberforth." Judging by their expressions, Draco realized it hadn't made the situation any more humorously bearable for them. Hermione was confined to the hospital ward, leading many to surmise that the brilliant Muggle-born student was the heir's latest target. Doubts that Draco was the heir lessened with this thinking, as it seemed unlikely he would turn on his solitary friend. It nearly brought his classmates to believe in his innocence until it slipped that Hermione's unpleasant situation was the result of a bizarre potion mistake. After that revelation, the old suspicions crept back, and they whispered about him being the heir once more. Initially, curiosity seekers disturbed Hermione's rest, but Draco's regular visits became a routine deterrent. Despite being surrounded by Gryffindors more than he had been in ages, Draco navigated these overlaps diplomatically. Potter found it awkward to meet Draco's gaze the first couple of weeks, though Draco suspected it had to do with Potter's brief stint in Draco's bed just as much as the resurfacing heir rumors. Fed up with the parade of prying eyes, Draco, using his influence amongst the Slytherin second years, spread the word. Speaking ill or staring unjustly at Draco Malfoy's companions could result in dire consequences, such as losing one's tongue or eyesight. Practicing the conjunctivitis curse solidified his warning's credibility, but the threat alone sufficed. Even Ron grudgingly expressed his appreciation. Still, limited interaction was engaged beyond necessity, much to Hermione's frustration. She confided that Ron and Harry still debated Draco's possible connection to the heir of Slytherin when he wasn't present. As hospital-bound Hermione was an accessible companion, Draco secretly feared the day she would regain her health, though he was nothing but outwardly cheerful when she returned to normal at February's start, minus whiskers and fur. Quidditch preparations intensified with the approaching Ravenclaw-Slytherin match on the 20th, practicing thrice weekly with Flint's regimen, alongside Draco's persistent weekend night flights, left him drained and aching. Had Severus's storerooms not been sealed from him, Draco might have resorted to borrowing remedial potions. As such, he conserved a precious draught of peace, a Yuletide gift for potential necessity against Ravenclaw. Hermione began dispatching letters using the Olary and made a point to chat after their potions class each week. Draco was glad to see her still wearing the bracelet, especially now that her wrist had shed its fur. If the initial H on it sparked associations beyond Hermione, she was gracious enough to keep silent. The snow's gradual thaw mirrored the easing panic that usually shadowed Draco's passage through the Hogwarts corridors. Mandrix neared maturity. Lockhart boasted that the heir was scared off by his supposed heroics, to Severus's evident irritation. And crucially, Hermione hadn't been a Yuletide target, merely a transfigured feline. Per Draco's notes, further attacks were unlikely until May. That would have been a comfort, were Hermione not included as a potential victim with Penelope Clearwater. As February advanced, Draco strangely doubted whether May would ever arrive. Though occasionally fearing nightmares about Hermione being petrified, his dreams frequently revisited Christmas, replaying scenes of Potter's fingers over his birthmark, the fireflies circling Severus's tree, and miles of green wrapping discarded with Potter's touch lingering at his lips. Despite efforts to remain unperturbed by romance, Valentine's Day disrupted his peace. Journaling, he noted, "Weasley girl sends Potter amusing note. I nearly abscond with his diary, but he takes it." However, The day's festivities slipped his mind until it dawned, with Lockhart's overwhelming enthusiasm. Neither Draco nor his Slytherin peers anticipated breakfast's over-the-top display, walls dripping with outrageous pink blooms and heart-shaped confetti threatening havoc on hairstyles. "Severus told me not to dine below the Great Hall anymore," Draco said, voice unsteady. "But I'd say this counts as an emergency." Then Severus's glance descended like a hawk, carrying the unmistakable message, "If I endure, my godson shall endure as well." Reluctantly joining his house at the Slytherin table, Draco propped his head on a sour palm, condemned to watch Lockhart's flamboyance unfold once more. "Happy Valentine's," Lockhart roared, "and my heartfelt thanks to the 46 individuals who've sent me cards thus far, including one from a certain educator, I suspect. Consequently, I've organized this little treat for all to enjoy, but the delights aren't over." With that, Lockhart clapped his hands, ushering a dozen dwarves, grumbling yet adorned with gilded wings and holding harps, into the hall. Somehow, Draco doubted any sum could make such indignity worthwhile. My wonderful winged messengers," exclaimed Lockhart with enthusiasm. "They'll be fluttering around the school today, delivering your valentines. But that's not all the excitement we have planned. Surely my esteemed colleagues would join in the celebrations. Why not ask Professor Snape to demonstrate concocting a love potion?" Draco made a mental note to observe Severus at the high table and savored the thought of keeping that look of extreme distaste in his collection for Severus, if it ever came to pass for him. "And while you're at it, Professor Flitwick knows more about beguiling charms than anyone I've met, that clever old rascal." The previous year, Draco had been intercepted by a dwarf with a valentine he pretended was not from Pansy. She maintained her dignity this year and refrained from sending another, though she couldn't help casting him several starry gazes throughout the romantic day. "Poor Pansy," he thought with bemused certainty. "Awkward, isn't it, Pansy?" Amused, Draco watched as teachers grew irritated by the dwarves disrupting lessons, wishing that potions had fallen on this day so he might witness Severus grappling with a chaos of romance. But the highlight came later, possibly rivaling any except Severus triumphing over Lockhart. It was one for the record books, Potter's unforgettable Valentine. Draco stumbled upon Potter with a torn bag, scrambling to gather his belongings. His identity was unmistakable, yet Draco feigned ignorance of the scene unfolding before him. "What's happening, Potter?" "Something amiss?" he inquired with mock innocence. But his presence seemed to heighten Potter's panic more than Draco recalled.
"No."
"Ron, it's Draco. Draco can't see this," Potter mumbled hurriedly. "Help," glancing from his friends to the first years nearby, with Girl Weasley at the front, as if they could save him from the clutches of affection. "What's all this ruckus about?" interjected Prefect Weasley, a grin playing on Draco's lips. "Oh, check it out, Potter. It's Ron's older brother Peter. Maybe he'll solve this mystery," he drawled. "Percy. My name's Percy," objected Peter. Seizing Peter's correction as a chance, Potter tried retreating, but the dwarf caught him at the knees, bringing him down. Draco stifled a laugh, too perfect a moment to spoil. The verse awaiting recital promised to be legendary. "All right," began the dwarf, perched on Harry's ankles. "Here's your musical valentine." Surely it had changed from before. Nothing could be this entertaining, Draco mused. His eyes are as green as a newly brined toad. His hair as dark as a schoolroom board. I wish he were mine. Truly, he's so fine. The hero who vanquished the Dark Lord. Draco couldn't pin down why it was so amusing. Perhaps it was the ridiculous charm of pairing board with Dark Lord. Or the odd mention of toads, as if the poetic inspiration, which crafted the rhyme of board and Dark Lord, faltered when it came to likening Potter's emerald eyes. Those were eye-worthy on a valentine, as was the sight of Potter cringing on the floor. Perhaps it was Potter's feeble, self-conscious attempt to laugh with everyone else, though clearly wishing he could vanish or escape far away. Or maybe it was Potter's sour glare at Draco, who seemed the only person laughing uproariously. "Was this your doing, Draco?" Potter demanded, suspicion in his voice, just as Peter Weasley intervened, directing everyone back to class. Off with you, the bell rang 5 minutes ago."
Get to class now.
"And you, Malfoy," Peter insisted. Anticipating Potter's persistence, Draco said, "Oh, come on, Potter. Why on earth would I waste a Valentine on you when there's Cedric Diggory around? He's so exquisite and perfect." Potter's cheeks flushed even more. "Cedric Diggory? You still—" Peter tried to mediate her. "As a prefect, I must caution against private duels." Yet Potter paid him no mind. "Harry, let's go," Ron urged, as Hermione helped escort Potter into the charms classroom. "Honestly, it wasn't me," Draco shouted after, to Ron's pointedly rude gesture, suggesting he wasn't convinced. By dinner, Draco felt unjustly blamed, catching dirty looks not only from Potter, but seemingly from everyone at the Gryffindor table, save Girl Weasley. "Come on, girl, just declare your affection already," he thought irritably. "He'll reciprocate one day." It was tiresome enough, enduring the glares or jeers from those who suspected him of sending the prank Valentine to Potter. In a moment, all the negative energy accumulated over 2 separate lives suddenly converged on him like a tidal wave.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this chapter, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with more audiobooks. Happy listening!